you see the Donald Glover's portrayal of Lando, which is the only good thing that came out of that movie?
That was galactisexual.
He'll have sex with an entire galaxy if he had the means to. I'd watch Donald Glover do almost anything, but I would watch him in a cape. I would watch anyone in a cape. Am I supposed to say something funny right now? I can't. Yes. I can't just do this on
just
command.
Just think of something funny.
Oh, don't forget I slept on these sheets for this specific movie.
I always say Boba Fett in the streets, Yoda in the sheets.
Oh wow! Welcome to Your Inner Child is an Idiot, the podcast where we look back on things from our childhood and wonder if they were any good to begin with. I am Damon.
I'm DJ.
And we are joined once again by Lacey Gillerin of the Resistance Broadcast and Nerdy and Nice.
Yeah.
And we are going to be looking back on Star Wars, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Are there 2 colons?
No, I think there's a dash. I think on the Library of Congress title for this, there is a colon and a dash. I don't know which one gets the dash and which one gets the colon, but there are 2 separate. You can't have 2 colons.
I feel like it's, yeah.
Same thing with your gastrointestinal system. You cannot have
You can't,
2
it can't be
colons.
done.
So we are looking back on The Empire Strikes Back.
The middle child.
The middle child, often the favorite of many people. Lacey, we talked about this in our last episode about episode 4. But you're a little bit not down on Empire Strikes Back, but it's not your favorite.
Going against
how do you
the
feel
grain.
how do you feel about Empire Strikes Back as a whole?
I'm definitely going against the grain. If you're ranking them, I would rank them Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. And I think everybody would be mad at me or is mad at me because
I'm going to be signing off right now myself.
Well, let me just say this. I don't worry about it, Lacey. Star Wars fans are notoriously chill about this, especially
the last
rankings.
15 years,
I was going to say,
totally gonna be cool.
I've been honest about this for the past 7 or 8 years that's my ranking, and I think I get called a fake fan all the time, and that's fine. It's cool. It doesn't bother me at all.
It's normal.
It's a great dialogue. It's great to build community that way. It's fantastic.
What I love about it is just the togetherness, the camaraderie that it brings.
Just the fandom.
It's like there's a gate and I need to keep it, you know?
No, Empire Strikes Back is amazing. The reason that it's not my favorite is because it doesn't end with a happy ending. And I know that's like the most basic thing.
He gets his hand back.
I suffer.
Sorta.
He does kind of. I suffer from anxiety in real life. And so when things get sad and like aren't resolved, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So this movie, there's a lot of open-ended like ambiguity of what's going to happen. And even though I know what's going to happen, it just doesn't I don't leave it going, oh man, yeah, that was the best. Like punch in the air, because our characters are not happy. Like they're not in a good place.
Yeah.
Does it mean it's a bad movie? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. The Yoda scenes where he's lifting the X-Wing out of the water and the music that swells and the work by Frank Oz, and even more so, Mark Hamill acting to Frank Oz doing the puppet, is some of the best scenes in like all of movie history. It's so good. And Lawrence Kasdan did the screenwriting. He's legend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think he was in some of the better Indiana Joneses. The odd-numbered Indiana Joneses.
And then his son did Solo, which I'm a big fan of Solo. It's a great movie. It's really great. It's just not my favorite. But does it mean I'm not going to watch it? No, of course I'm going to watch it. It's great.
Right, you need to know what happened between these two that you like.
I think this is the hardest one. This is the hardest one to like disconnect from the others, because not just because it's the middle one, but because it's all about like contrast to the first one. It sort of only exists as an answer to the first one and a setup for the third. And so it's just, it's hard to, I think, if you can't really take it in a vacuum and just be like, I understand what you're saying though, too, because it's got these great moments, but it also has some trippy moments, like the whole thing on Dagobah where he doesn't go into a tree and then Darth Vader's there.
He goes into a cave to see what he needs to see. Yeah. The Force is going to show him.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah. And he sees his own helmet or his own head, which is sick visual effects. They had Mark Hamill like lay there Sick.
DJ, would it be easier for you to resolve this without having seen the other two if we put like Real Housewives of New York chyrons under each character, so you don't have to watch the first one? You're just like, this is Darth Vader.
I just want to know who is he married to?
Who did he double cross?
I want like below deck. Like every time the person's on screen, I want them to say third Stu, so I know which person this is. Like every time. Did you forget from like 5 seconds ago? I understand at the beginning after each act break. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So this is Yoda. This is when we're beginning of getting Yoda, right? This is
where Yoda is.
Yoda.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Lando. Let's not forget Lando. Two great O-ending characters.
This is
no wait. Yoda ends in an egg.
I'm excited to watch this again because it's been a while. Like the last time I watched this was right before the sequels, the sequel trilogy came out. We rewatched all of them.
Good for you.
It got to be rough when we got to the prequels.
Did you do them in number order or in chronological order? How did you? Or you doing that specific nerd order that I couldn't follow? Or you watched like 4 and 5 and then slip back to 1 and 2?
I can't remember what order we watched.
This is the big who's your father reveal. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure I've ruined it for my daughter. Like, that's the thing that like you want your kids to have that moment. Yeah. Because I had that moment. I was like, wait, what did he just say? Mm-hmm. Again, I'm 6. So take that in like a 6-year-old. But my daughter, I have this huge poster in my living room of The Force Awakens. I told you, I love it. And I have A New Hope in there. Don't hate me. And Indiana Jones. So it's not just Force Awakens for all the people.
All the big Harrison Ford ones.
Yes. Love Harrison Ford. So there's a picture of Force Awakens and there's a big kind of like image of Kylo Ren. And so she goes, Mommy, who is that? And I was like, oh, it's Kylo Ren. And she was like, oh, okay. And then I guess my husband told her who he is in relation to the story. So next time she came in, she goes, that's Darth Vader's grandson. And I was like, wow. I felt like it was just stolen from me. But
I feel like when we were a kid, this was stolen from me by like zillions of parodies and references.
Yeah,
like,
that's
Tiny
true.
Toon Adventures ruined this for
Muppet
me long
Babies.
before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Tiny Toon Adventures. Oh my God, loved that show.
Yeah.
Talk about this was, I guess, before the phrase spoiler alert existed.
Muppet Babies too, I think, did Star Wars.
Oh yeah, they
did
had because they had the licensing to all the Fox stuff. They were cramming Star Wars into every.
That's why we can't watch Muppet Babies for this podcast because we can't find it. You can kind of find it on YouTube now.
Is it not on Disney Plus even?
No, they did a
Disney
reboot.
hates the Muppets.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't like that giant corporation.
Something's not right here.
People, I say this all the time. People complain that they've ruined Star Wars. They have fumbled the Muppets like no other. And I will always say that. Yeah. If you hate Star Wars, I hate what they've done to the Muppets.
I think Damon will support you on that.
I will. I'll go to my grave.
If nothing else, for not bringing back the Muppet Show. When they go.
Oh my God.
Just do it. Just do
let
it.
me see Danny Kaye hanging out with Sadler and Waldorf.
Just do it right now. Find a character actor, put him with some Muppets, make a variety show. A third of it is music, or it writes itself.
I found out recently that they were still making Scooby-Doo's with like people to like Sia was on an episode of Scooby-Doo. Like they used to have Phyllis Diller when we were kids.
But then they also threw Scooby-Doo into that vault with Batgirl. They made another Scooby-Doo.
Not.
Like they were making a Scooby-Doo movie and they threw it in the vault. I knew about the Wile E. Coyote movie. I didn't know about
that too.
Scooby-Doo movie.
All in the vault.
I'm really pissed about that Wile E. Coyote. I loved Wile E. Coyote as a kid. I really wanted him to kill that bird.
This keeps coming up. These giant corporations, I don't think they have our best interests in mind creatively.
What were we talking about? Wile E. Coyote?
Just creatively. Otherwise, they're cool. They're totally cool. By the way, this boot that I'm licking tastes delicious. Disney, if you want to sponsor the show, please don't.
One of the things I like about Empire Strikes Back, which was the topic at hand.
Sorry about that.
You can tell
Muppets,
that
we're sort of in the ballpark.
It's Muppet adjacent.
Yeah.
You can tell that they knew they had a hit on their hands this time, and they were like, "Here you go, money wise. You can't see through Darth Vader's eye goggles anymore." The images from I still think of the Carbonite room where Darth and Lukey fight. and that those orange beams just like flanking them. There's mist everywhere. but
Beautiful
they're, like, pretty
lighting
much
in this
silhouette.
one.
It's gorgeous.
Smoke. They got smoke machines.
Oh,
they were
yeah.
like, we
Smoke
got
machine
big budget.
one.
They have a
Wait,
fan.
Irvin Kershner, is that right? Directed. This is the only non-George directed Star Wars movie. Is that correct?
No, the last one was done by oh my god, I'm gonna get owned right now. It's not
Joel
George.
Schumacher, actually.
If you just say it confidently when we figure it out, we'll just have him edit at that point. Then
I actually don't
nerds
know.
can't
I feel
attack
like
us.
it's someone with
have
a
no
Hold on,
car.
I got a machine here that
it
tells
is Steven Spielberg,
No.
Orson Welles.
Orson
me.
Welles.
Orson
Welles.
Scott
Can you
Card.
imagine a universe?
I feel like it's
Richard Marquand.
Richard.
Marquand?
There it is. I said it was R, and I knew it was an M. RM. Something like that. I don't
Is
know.
he Ross Marquand's father?
I don't know.
I can't speak to that. I don't. Is that a person I'm supposed to know, Deej? Is that a sports
He's
person?
a guy. He's a guy that does like impressions, but he's an actor.
I actually would have preferred if you said it was a sports person.
Are you sportsing right now?
Are you sportsing all over this show?
Let's find out. Nope.
Not remotely.
Nope.
How dare you?
Now I've just derailed this again. What else do we need to talk about? We need to talk about, is this the planet, does Alderaan blow up in this one? Or is
No, that was the last
That's
one.
the first one. This one's the big one
we
where
haven't
Han
watched
and
it
Leia fall in love.
Okay. We have
Scruffy
not
looking nerf herder.
often.
They do the
Oh,
enemies
yeah.
to lovers. One of the original enemies to lovers.
Really?
trope. I would say.
That's true.
I feel like it's older than.
Sure, it's older
19.
than them. I'm saying
Yeah.
one of the big blockbuster enemy
Sure.
to
Okay.
lovers.
All right. All right. And then that's where Adele got.
Oh no, it happened
idea
one
for that
night is
song.
prime enemies to lovers. If we're talking like 1930s, yeah.
What else happens in this one? The big
They
reveal.
get eaten by that giant worm in the meteor.
Oh yeah. See,
Yeah.
I remember that mostly from Muppet Babies. See, that's the thing about coming.
They did it
coming-
best. I mean, I think it's a hot take, but they did it best.
They did
I mean,
best.
yeah, this one's Hoth, space,
Yeah,
the
Hoth, that-
sky
okay.
or swamp.
Opening sequence on Hoth is
Dagobah.
pretty crazy awesome.
Oh, and
Mhm.
what's Lando's planet? What's the gas planet?
Oh yeah,
Cloud City.
Cloudland,
Cloud
City.
Okay.
Um,
Most of my
Bespin.
sheets, by the way,
Bespin
were
is the
Cloud
planet.
City Bespin stuff.
That's
in the
because it's so
background.
pretty.
It
Like
is
it's such a
very
pretty
nice.
matte paintings in this one.
And
Lot of
sometimes they have
skies.
little Jetsons car goes by.
Mhm.
But I do feel like in terms of just the imagery, not that the first one isn't iconic in its imagery, but I feel like everything just looks so beautiful in this movie. The sets
I
are
feel
really
like
gorgeous.
it is a prettier movie than the first one.
I mean, those hallways in Bespin,
Bespin, yep, they're white.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah, they're gorgeous. And then
Mhm.
I mean, the Hoth iconography of just these giant at. I'm realizing I mostly
AT-AT.
read these words.
Some
Now I
people
have to
say
them out
AT-AT.
loud.
I say at
Okay.
at. Yeah.
Those guys coming down, beautiful, fucking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's
Mhm.
there's a lot of
Dagobah's
sequences
pretty
in
too.
this. Yeah,
Yeah, it just looks humid. I can't with that.
I can't. My hair.
We
gets
always
so-
joke about like, what do you think it smells like there?
Oh
It
yeah,
just smells like
farts.
just a giant fart.
We had a wetlands behind our yard growing up, and it just smells like farts.
And then-
constantly.
Yoda's just eating like root beet stew. You're like,
Ugh.
And it doesn't smell good either, according to Luke's face. No.
Just adding to the smell there.
Deej, have you chimed in on how you feel about Empire?
I think I liked this one when watching the original trilogy. I can respect this one for all the reasons we were talking about. Like it's beautiful, like well shot. It's clearly like workmanlike in the directing. It's very well done, and I think it's a pretty tight movie. I feel like there's a lot going on,
Mhm.
but you can follow it. I think coming to this as a kid when it's all kind of jumbled. I remember, like Lacey, you were talking about, like, who's that guy? You
Mhm.
don't really know all the lore, not watching things in order, like watching, Return of the Jedi first and then being like, oh, this one exists. And then he's like, I'm your father. I'm like, yeah, I know. I saw the third one a second
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
It's
I'm
all kind
way
of a
ahead of
jumbled
you,
mess.
Darth.
So it was much later that I started being like, more analytical about it and kind of seeing. But I remember thinking this one was a jump in acting ability and like directing just from the first one.
Music too. I think John
yeah.
Williams did an amazing job on all the themes. Like Yoda's theme is one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever.
Yeah. When he gets to like explore
I know Yoda's theme.
It's like really whimsical, like a lot of yeah, that's it right there. There's a guitar that comes in.
Yeah, it's the Weird Al song. Yeah, to the tune of Lola. Yeah. You don't remember that?
He went back in time to write it for this movie, and then they stole it from him.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to say about Empire Strikes Back before we watch it?
Enjoy the awesomeness.
Yeah.
Enjoy the third best awesomeness is what she means.
Third best. Third best.
And if you want to fight her about it, Lacey, you can listen to her podcast, The Resistance Broadcast, and Nerdy and Nice. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. So imagine a marketplace Okay. Imagine a series of tubes.
That's not true.
Okay.
That's
all right.
impossible.
Okay. And
I
that's
was expecting
fine.
you to get to it
I like the
faster.
give and take. You're giving me a lot of stuff to work with, and I appreciate that. Okay. Imagine a gas mine.
Now, here's the problem. I've already wasted my lines. I don't have any more.
Okay. You don't have any negations to the things I say.
No. Imagine we were siblings.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Turned lovers. But
no, I've seen some 22-minute videos on this very subject.
But only because we didn't know we were siblings.
Yes.
And then once we
DJ, you had me at imagine we're siblings.
Then once we learned we were siblings again, pooey. We don't like that anymore.
But maybe? No, it's not.
No.
We can't. We couldn't possibly.
But maybe.
But would the Ewoks be able to tell on us? Wait, that's not even this movie.
What kind of space opera is this? Is this a...
How operatic are we getting?
Like, if we were just... Is this like a Greek mythology kind of thing? No. Okay. It's a Game of Thrones. No. Okay, cool.
Okay,
good.
so we just have the one kiss. That's what we're down to one kiss and we're done.
Then yuck to
Act 1 kiss or Act 3? Just Act 1. Okay. All right.
All this and more at patreon.com/YourChild'sAnIdiot, where you can support the show, and you'll get extra bonus episodes. You'll get episodes early. Get your name in the credits. Who knows what else? Damon.
I think you really sold the idea on patreon.com/YourChild'sAnIdiot and the various treats they can get by starting with the incest vibe. Sort of coming in at an angle and then abruptly stopping it and then just talking about patreon.com. That's what I like about it. People were like, I was interested in also having sex with someone who shared a considerable percentage of my genetic material. But hey, this patreon.com thing, that seems cool.
If this is one thing about a podcast. The best thing about my segues is that they're not segues. They're just me saying things. Unrelated to what came before. Patreon.com/YourChild'sAnIdiot. And we are back. We watched Star Wars 5.
Ooh, it's not actually
The Empire
Library
Strikes
of Congress not actually called that, my friend.
It's not?
It's SW:"E5-T, lowercase t, big E, big S, big B.
Wait, so you're saying a Library of Concert...
Library of Concert?
The Library of Concerts, the Library of Congress, it breathes it like that?
Yeah.
The T is a lowercase?
Ask all the follow-up questions you want, and it's always going to be positive because I know I'm right, and you don't have the means to look me up.
Well, the Library of Congress has been shut down, I'm sure. So.
I'm sure there's just one really harried librarian just like checking books in. It's a library, right? It's still a working library.
Actually a library.
Trying to shoo the unhoused people away from the computers. We're closing. Get out of here, Greg.
We watched Empire Strikes Back, and Damon Xanthopoulos is going to recap this movie for all of you who have not seen Star Wars.
Are you familiar with this?
Episode
Did you watch any cartoons in the 90s, perhaps, that may have referenced any plot points from this film?
I don't know.
Any
Were there any
Tinies-
references to
any
this?
Tinies tunes? Any Annie's Maniac? Picture this. Star Wipe. 2. A frozen planet. Our favorite people are there. Johnny, Kelly, the whiny one,
John Kelly.
the gold one, the trash can one. They're all there, and they're hanging out. But the Empire might be honing in on them. They've sent like some drones.
What if our friends get attacked by angry metal camels?
So they do. Spoiler alert. Luke has to spend the night in the intestines of a small, large mammal,
A taunton?
a beast of burden.
Oh.
But he has a vision of Shakespearean actor Alec Guinness, who says, "Hey, can you go to a swamp planet?" And he's like, "Gotcha.
I received $15,000 for this line.
I hate being here as much as you hate seeing me, but I'm here to collect my check." And George said I had to be in person to collect it.
Luke, do you think we have that one, or do we need another take?
Well, you were eating during it, Alex, so I don't know. You tell me. But that's neither here nor there. Han Solo and Leia escape in one direction. Luke goes in another direction. Han and Leia have, a lot of hand-holding and lip pressing in their storyline. They're running from various TIE fighters and what have yous, Star Destroyers, and new off the assembly line, Super Star Destroyers.
Whoa, they're even bigger.
This one has Luigi in it. You can get your little brother to play as Luigi in the Super Star Destroyer.
Oh, okay. I thought we were doing a Luigi Mangione reference, and I was like, wait, what?
Ooh, no. But give me a minute and I'll work him in. Hey, so Luke goes to the Dagobah system, which is also known as the Dagobah planet. I don't know why it's called a system if it's also just the planet.
I don't mean to derail this any further, but just
You were asking about me working Luigi into me? Was that what you wanted to address?
interjecting hey into your own recap.
Hey, Damon, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to get to the swamp planet a little bit more. See,
It's going great.
astronomers know that you tend to have harsh, arid planets closer to your star system.
Yep.
And then you get the Goldilocks area, zone, some might call it. The Goldilocks, that's where life can exist. But depending on where you are, you might be more desert-like Tatooine if you're a few inches closer to the sun, or if you're a little farther away from the sun, swamp planet, and there are no towns and just big fucking sharks in the swamps everywhere. That's where Yoda lives. That's where our beloved, soon-to-be beloved Yoda lives. And Luke goes there. He learns about lifting things out of water.
Abe Vigoda is from.
True. It's an Oda planet. Everyone's named Oda at the end of their name.
Dagobah, Abe Vigoda, and Yoda.
Hoda Kotb
Hoda.
from Okay, I believe I'm in Act
Dagobah.
1 of this.
You've almost made it to Act 2. We're on Dagobah.
Anyway, so Han and Leia, they're wanting to rub their jennies together, but they can't yet because the gold robot keeps coming in while they're talking. They don't have the hyperdrive working on the Millennium Falcon. That's annoying. They hide in an asteroid field because they can't go into hyperspace or whatever. So they end up going into the esophageal system of a large space snake. It could happen to anyone. They escape, but while they're like looking around, like, where can we hide out? They see that Lando Calrissian's hometown is nearby. Not hometown, but Bespin. They go there. It's a gas mining colony, as we all know.
Yeah. Go to Cloud City. We got to go to Cloud City.
And we go to Cloud City, which is a perfect video game location. And we go there, and Lando's great. He looks great in a cape. And
I'm really sad that all the Cloud Cities closed, because you can tell which buildings used to be Cloud Cities, and it's kind of still depressing.
I hate it when it's like, oh, this used to be a Cloud City, and now it's just a fucking bank.
Yeah.
It's just floating there in the air and has that little pin. It looks like the thing from Inception, but it's just a fucking Pizza Hut now. So we go there, and Lando betrays his friends and the entire cause for a little bank from the Empire. But then he immediately realizes it's a bad idea, and unfortunately, our scruffy-looking nerf herder gets frozen in carbonite, a thing that happens, and he's alive. I know what you're thinking. He is alive. He's
his vitals.
Fine.
Yep.
He tells, right before he does that, he tells his girlfriend that he knows she has feelings for him. Badass.
It's cool not to
pink
express
flag,
your
though.
true feelings.
And the point is, Luke falls for the trap. It's all a trap on the Empire to get Luke to come and abandon his training and come rescue his friends, which he doesn't do. He fails spectacularly at it, loses a hand in the process, doesn't save his friends. Han's frozen in carbonite. Lando has to fly them out of there. And, he finds out that Darth Vader, the villain of the whole series, is actually his father or something. So that's probably in a Freudian level gonna mess him up for a while. You probably took a dump during that part because you're like, they're just fighting. What could possibly be revealed in this section of the movie?
I was probably on my phone reading new Star Wars lore when I just skipped right
You were
over
reading about predictions for season 2 of Andor when that came out. So that's, I think, a good 3/5 of the movie, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We didn't talk about the Space Yeti. In the very beginning,
Who needs him?
By an abominable snowman.
Did you? Was I alone, or did you also think of Monsters Inc?
Did you say kitty as soon as it attacked?
I didn't, but I did think of the yellow snow cones that John Ratzenberger, who I've meant to look this up. Is he in this movie? Because I thought I saw him, and then his character started talking. I was like, that's not the John Ratzenberger voice that I was anticipating.
I don't know why, but they replaced his lines.
Oh, you know what they probably did? They're like, people are going to recognize him from Cheers 6 years from now.
Right.
So let's not.
We can't have that.
Hey, Englishmen, just anyone, any of you. They just open the window from the studio and like, hey, any of you, get in here and say some lines.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Yes.
I couldn't possibly.
I'm very busy. Also, we're in Norway. We're filming Hoth.
Is run with precision. David Tomlinson, get out of here. We couldn't possibly have your rap music in Star Wars.
This is a dark time for the rebellion. We learn immediately.
Right. It's actually a declarative sentence at the beginning of the movie.
I mean, it's a little subjective to just be putting right in there.
Let me determine if it's a dark time for the rebellion.
What do you think about? So we recently watched the first one, just fresh. We had never seen it before.
No, not familiar with George Lucas's work.
It's a pretty, it's elation at the end of that celebration. Ding dong.
Medals were 2/3 of medals were given.
Yeah. So how do you feel about this 180? It's a dark time. They're on the run.
I love it. I really liked the tension of this movie in general.
Yeah.
I really like the direction of this movie. I feel like visually, I think I talked about this in the intro, visually you can tell like
got
the hand thing means the money. That they got a little bit of more money. And I think also Irvin Kershner, at least in this movie, I mean, I think he really does a fantastic job. The vision I keep thinking of or the shot, not the vision. I didn't like wake up in the middle of the night thinking about this. I saw it in the movie. Is that the right before Luke and Darth's, if I can call them that, their duel starts. I mean, in that freezing chamber, it's like the backdrop is all blue, and then you just see this black scaffolding everywhere, like lit with orange lights, and then you see like Darth Vader's silhouette. He's already kind of just a walking silhouette as it is. But you just see him, and he's, because of his iconic design, and you already are familiar with him, like seeing him lit like that, it's just such a fantastic shot. It feels, You know what it feels like? It feels like those levels in the recent Donkey Kong Country games where it's all in silhouette. I feel like they probably were inspired by those in a lot of ways.
I was also thinking that it's very similar to the newest Donkey Kong video game.
And sometimes, like, if you're paying attention to the background, if you walk to a certain point, like the rocks will align and they'll form a banana shape and you'll get a special treat.
You get the banana.
Which I believe was based on a deleted scene from this movie, and they were like, there aren't bananas in space. Why would we do that here? It doesn't make any sense.
We got to do reshoots on all
Why
that
is he in a
stuff.
barrel? Why would Luke ever be in a barrel?
George, I know this is your whole thing, but the banana idea is stupid. We're going to reshoot it. No,
they do kind of look like an alien fruit if we didn't already have them on this planet. You know what I mean, George?
George.
You're not even listening to me. You're pretending to make a phone call on that banana.
Which is admittedly a good bit.
It's
but we've
solid,
all done it.
and you're historically the first person to have ever done it.
I actually wrote down that exact shot because I was like, damn, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool shots in this movie, but that is like, especially because it's the kind of climactic battle of the movie. It's so effective. That whole sequence, that battle fight sequence, they just move from like iconic background to iconic background. Like it's very cool.
Do you think there is a fight coordinator in real life when you do get into fights? I know we talked about fights in like billiard halls during our Good Will Hunting episode. Do you think there are people that are like, hey guys, if you could actually stand in front of this pool table, I think the light coming in through the windows will really make your fight over Layla over here, who's been sleeping with the two of yous. I think it'll really make it shine.
If you could
make it pop.
Scooch right in front of this big pane glass window, I'm going to go shoot you from the outside. No, not shoot you. No, I'm not in this fight, guys.
No.
Ow.
I'm not part of this. I don't even know Layla. I mean, she did call my office a few weeks ago.
Starting this, the first movie also starts in media res. And this one, I think...
Ooh la la, Mr. Frenchman.
This one is less like immediately like fighting, but it is very cool in the sense that we get immediately a sense, stop saying immediately, we get a sense of stakes. And it's...
How soon do we get those stakes?
Urgently. No, I can't. Now
almost
all of a sudden...
as soon as we know there are stakes to be had.
We get evil probes that look cool. Like... It's immediately tense. Damn it. Now I am going to notice it. It's the of adverbs. Anyway.
It's your in toto.
Now, do you think that because we've now entered the world where Harrison Ford is a megastar because of the first Star Wars.
Yeah.
Do you think he knew the power of his pointing and then used it too much in this first movie or just enough?
I just actually was served, because Instagram knows me too well. I was served Conan showing Harrison Ford his pointing trick to himself. And it felt like Harrison Ford was seeing it for the first time. Like he was like, I didn't know that I do this all the time.
No, that can't be true.
He doesn't point at, he points up.
Yeah. It is because that is a very...
It's like 1 second almost, like, but an urgent, I need 1 second.
That's like a red flag when a man like points at a woman when you know what I mean? That's like a...
Right, that's no good.
One
but
step
if you
away.
Point slightly up.
But the up, it sounds like you're mad, but also you have an idea.
That man is charismatic and has a point to make. If we would all just listen to him.
When he does it to C-3PO, doesn't actually say anything, he just does the point. That's when you realize the full power. He stopped a full-on fucking android with his...
Even the android's like, let's listen to this man. For some reason, the upward point was programmed into my systems to recognize that I should stop talking.
What do you think about the will they, won't they soap opera of
if Leia has a heart, she will. Wait, I don't want to get away from... Because we talked
You want to talk more about the
briefly-
pointing?
I do want to talk about pointing. But I also want to talk about Hoth in general. Hoth. In the old country, we called it Hoth.
It's spelled C-H-A-A.
There's a guttural thing to it. Mm-hmm. Because it plays into the Luke duel of... I feel like visually, I feel like the idea of like, no, we're going to have it on an ice planet this time and everyone's going to be wrapped up. Everyone's going to be dressed in whites and like earth tones and it's going to be really fucking awesome. I feel like that whole intro just completely surprises me. Like when we spent so much time on Tatooine in the first one, now we're in this ice planet. I think it's so iconic. I feel like I'm probably going to say iconic and maybe immediately a lot in this episode.
Well, I think it immediately demonstrates what the damn it.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were doing a bit. I thought you were. It was so pointed that I thought you were doing a bit.
No, I'm going to stop. Oh, I'm going to try to find a different way. It demonstrates right away the stakes that are from the crawl because
Control F immediately. Replace with right away.
They should not. This is clearly an inhospitable planet that they should not be on. And this is how far they've had to go to escape the big fucking empire that's on their tail. And I think it's just a cool way of demonstrating what it just said in the crawl. Like
how desperate they are to hide.
Now I cannot stop wanting to say immediately.
Well, now I do want to go back because I felt like now I have waspy regret about how brazen I was about changing the subject. I want to talk about the will they, won't they.
Okay, now you.
Yes.
Okay.
Now it's on my schedule.
This does occur.
And I want to talk about it
so.
immediately.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think there's a little bit of that there. And I feel like at the beginning of this movie, when Luke is injured after his attack with John Ratzenberger's Yeti, there's a little bit of like, hey, maybe there's a Leia thing going on with Luke. I'm like, stop playing with my dick, movie. We all know who she's getting with, and it ain't Mark Hamill. Peace and blessings be upon him. And I think even though you know it's happening, you know they're the Sam and Diane of this galaxy, it is rather effective. Like the minute she hurts her hand and he's like rubbing her hand.
Yeah.
I wish it was my hand in a way. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's just...
And I wouldn't have minded if it lasted a little bit longer because they immediately kiss after she hurts her hand and she calls him a scoundrel, which I love. I love when people say words that people don't say, like scoundrel, scallywag,
nerf herder.
I've called many a man a nerf herder. Excuse me, he's a nerf herder. Stay away from him. Red flag. He's hurting nerfs.
Well, and Han continues swashbuckling through this episode, which is very charming. When he has to go out and save Luke, who he thought was right behind him, but is out in the cold. And one of the other rebels is like, you won't survive out there. And he's like, then I'll see you in hell, which is great. I forgot about that line.
I did write that line down because I was like, is Han a jerk? It felt like a needless attack. Like, sir, you won't survive if you go hunt down your friend. And he's like, well, I'll see you in hell. I'm like, okay, there's no need to just attack, what is probably just a poor intern here with the rebellion.
He wasn't stopping you. He was just saying, I worry for your safety. My superior
statistical
officer.
Advice for you, sir, is to please not go out there.
Never tell me the odds and I'll see you in hell.
I did write that down. I did also... Is there any problematicness we need to talk about with Han and Leia? She does ask him to stop rubbing her hand. I mean, that's not... I'm not like calling the police or anything. Like, hey, she told you to stop rubbing her hand.
If I have one overarching criticism of this movie, only compared to the first one, and most of the ways that it's different than the first movie are improvements. But I do think Leia is a little bit more passive. She has a little bit less to do. She's a little less feisty. Like, it's more about her relationship with Han. And that's interesting and compelling because they're both very charming. But it's a little... She gets her edges sanded down a little bit. I
think you are right in terms of the actual things that happen in this story. To the movie's credit, though, I do think we see her, especially on Hoth. We see her essentially at least second in command in that control room, where she and when that first guy who's like oppressively English, leaves, presumably on the first like embargo or whatever they call them, going out.
The cargo ship, yeah.
She then is left in charge, and like the room is literally falling apart around her, and she's still like directing people, the remaining people in that room. So I do agree with you that the story wise, she is a little bit more passive in this story, and that is a shame. But I do think we get a little bit more. If you're paying attention, you do see her still in a leader. I was about to say lead person, but we actually have a word for it. It's called leader in the rebellion.
When that is her role, you know, she in lore, both and in the movies like that, she's not necessarily like a warrior. She is a commander. Right. You know what I mean? Sure. So it makes sense she would
as most princesses are, as I learned from the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Well, we all know that in most regal situations, the way that you become a princess is by killing the princess before you in 1-to-1 combat.
Yeah, that is. I missed that. Was that Legend of Zelda Highlander? Is that what that one was?
Yeah. And I'll quote Yoda to say, "Great warrior, wars do not make one great."
Wow. Thank you. No.
I had to look up because I was like, I'm gonna mess this up, but I quoted it. I got it. I want to just, while we're on the Han and Leia thing for a second, my favorite line is when they're having trouble getting the Millennium Falcon started.
Is it Falcon?
They keep saying Falcon. Darth Vader and Han both say Falcon, which is very...
Maybe it's like a Western Galaxy thing versus an Eastern Galaxy.
Yeah.
On the Eastern Galaxy, we call it Falcon. And on the Western Galaxy, you call it Falcon.
Look, I didn't know there was a difference in the pronunciation between P-E-N and P-I-N until I was like 23 years old. So whatever. They were like, these are homophones. And then later people were like, no, they're not. And I was like, they literally taught us those are homophones in class. Anyway. She
never trust an Ohioan teacher. I'm just kidding. They're heroes or whatever.
Don't make me point at you. Would it help if I got out and pushed? And he's like, it might.
Which makes me question, are there cars in the Star Wars universe that you would get out and push?
Yeah. And not only are there cars, but you have the same like evolution of cars.
How do I get this thing going again?
Yeah.
Maybe in space you would pull it, you know? This is all solid tape.
Can you imagine
this is either our best episode or our worst episode.
It's like the multiverse of madness where it's like, here, red lights mean go. I'm like, oh, wow, your imagination knows no bounds.
Of course, the many infinite universes we could have where red lights mean go. This is the one I landed in. Not where red lights eat you.
I want to talk about the ongoing bit of the Millennium Falcon being a piece of shit.
I do love it.
I love it so much. It adds more to the stakes every time because they're being chased and they're like 3 times, or is it 3 times? They're like, punch it, and it's like now the last time, and every time it's like, it's not my fault. And then Lando says it's not my fault when that time it actually wasn't Lando's fault because they had shut down the hyperdrive. It gives R2 like a little beat because he had said something before about the hyperdrive being shut down, but no one listened to him. Mostly because he speaks in beeps and fucking boops.
Whoa! Whoa!
Yeah, I said it.
Whoa! I thought
on
this podcast we were a pro-droid podcast.
You want to participate in society?
Learn the language.
Learn whatever language it is we're speaking in this, because it's not technically English.
Right, of course. It's the common tongue. No, that's Middle Earth. Sorry, I don't know what it's called here.
Western.
Yeah, I did love that. I had forgotten that is almost entirely contained within this movie, is that the hyperdrive does not work. And I was reminded actually of, and this is a sticking point for a lot of people with The Last Jedi, that The Last Jedi is also the B story, for lack of a better word, is this sort of chase in space. And a lot of people criticize that movie for that. And this movie also has a chase in space where, because they can't get the hyperdrive working, they're constantly hiding and ducking from from Imperial fighters. Now, I also wasn't keen on The Last Jedi's chase in space, mostly because I was like, one, why is Laura Dern going to a cocktail party? Why is she dressed like that? And two, it's been a few years since I've seen it, so I don't remember why I wasn't particularly keen on it. But this is really effective. Like that specific, we've already seen how hyperdrive works, and it's visually iconic because of the lines, you know?
Yeah.
And then not seeing it happen, like seeing him do the same action and hearing like, which is very relatable if you ever drove like a 1985 Grand Marquis, for example.
When you did have to get out and push.
Or you did have to get out and have a princess push you. I had a Duchess push me, and it's just not the same. You just gotta have a princess do it.
Doesn't have the oomph. I like that there's a couple of things where they play on the established things from the first movie, like R2-D2 locking into the port and then getting shocked because it's actually just a power socket. And he has a little beat with 3PO who's like, how am I supposed to know that's a power socket? And then he actually does it. I don't know. I thought that was a cool way of dressing, like building on the first movie, not
how we already know how it works.
You've established this universe and you kind of build on it. You're not necessarily like making fun of it. You're just saying like, oh, this thing that you thought was going to happen because it happened last time, it's not always going to be successful. There's these other, and it's also just a funny beat every time.
I will say, like, the minute this movie begins, and I don't know if it's just that these characters are so ingrained in my psyche as a millennial, but this movie begins and you immediately know how everyone works together, how these characters click together. You see C-3PO and R2-D2 sort of bickering with each other like an old married couple, because they are. And you see Han sort of being devil may care, one might say, and Luke being a fucking nerd and being like, hey, I saw a meteorite fall. I'm going to go check it out. I'm like, oh, sure thing, dork. It does feel like I know these characters really well. I enjoy seeing them. And I don't know if it's because I'm just like programmed in my brain to know what these characters are like, or if this is just a really well fucking made movie and they're like, hey, remember these characters that we sketched out really well in the first movie? Hey, they're back and they're on new adventures.
Yeah. When you can describe, I think that was there was a big YouTube red letter media takedown of the prequels that came out here, and it was like one of the big things that I don't know that site, but I remember somebody pointing me to this video. One of the things that he pointed out was like, describe the characters from the prequels without saying anything about what they look like. And you can do that in a second with Han Solo, with the original trilogy characters. And
does Vest count as what he looks like?
Yes. Because you can describe that he's arrogant, but he's got, under
brash.
He's got a heart
People
of
love saying brash.
Anyway, so I think they do a good job of not just pointing to those characterizations, but also fleshing them out a little bit. Like why, as Luke has learned a little bit more about his parentage, not before he finds out about Vader, he knows that his father was a Jedi and he wants to find out about more. And so when he gets these message from the Force Ghost, he has this motivation to go train with this great master. Leia just wants to keep people safe. She wants Han nearby. There's like this sort of, will they, won't they thing. Han is worried about saving his own ass, but also does kind of want to stay. You can clearly tell he
understandably
cares about these
wants to pay off the bounties. You should pay your debts.
Yeah.
If we learned anything from the Lannisters,
you use the avalanche
pay your
method
debts.
Or use the snowball method. They're both great Hoth metaphors. So
I actually have questions about these methods. I was going to make a joke about rocket money because, they're in space and stuff.
Well, we don't
want like rocket.
They're a possible sponsor of the podcast. So we do not want to.
Are they? I'd love to see any emails from that company.
Dave Ramsey's not going to sponsor us. So
no,
he can
because I am both gay and a divorcee. And I think he can go fuck himself.
Not big on guns either. So
anyway. Hey, so here I'm going to bring up something.
Okay.
That I think is
Minox?
a valid criticism.
Is it Minox?
No, I love Minox.
Okay.
They look like Zelda enemies that would die in one hit, but they're still fucking annoying.
Yeah.
But
The
I wanna
cases
say-
of the Star Wars universe, I always say.
absolutely the keys to the Star Wars universe. Tyler brought up a good point, and I think this is valid. And I remember kind of feeling like this the first time I watched these things. So I just want to put this out to you.
Okay.
He was a little concerned that one of the flaws of the Star Wars
Mhm.
trilogy, original trilogies, that we don't really see the Empire, not meaning the Empire as an administration, but the Empire as actual citizens going about their business. Like, we don't know what we're
Mhm.
fighting for.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I understand, like, because you see, like,
Feel
what...
free to make ad hoc attacks on Tyler's character.
Because you're saying, like, see the sort of oppressive regime that they would live under.
Now, he did say that during Act 1, and I said, stay tuned for Act 3.
I don't know if you remember them blowing up an entire planet of people in the first one. I think
also
that
said
is...
that to him.
I think that's the main thing we're going on, is that I think that's valid in the sense that that would be some additional world building, but it's also like we're seeing the guys in charge just choke people who disappoint them lightly.
On
And then
Zoom calls, no less.
Yeah. The guy's getting choked on Skype, which
Rude.
is
I don't want Skype to be part of my obituary, I'll tell you that.
that's being kicked while you're down.
He died as he lived on a Zoom call
on a fucking
with
Zoom-
45 other
on
employees.
Microsoft Teams.
No, I mean, I agree with him in that I do think it would be nice in these early movies to have seen some more of the Empire. I do think at the end of this, where we see Bespin start to be taken over, like Lando specifically says, we are not technically part of the Empire. And then the Empire's like, hey, we're going to be like, I don't know, taken over and stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, let's get out of here. Grab all your vases and mattresses and let's run through the corridors of Bespin.
Hey, you with the computer head. Grab all the things you can find.
But I think is one of my criticisms originally watching this, is that we see Tatooine, which is like, as Luke describes it, the furthest, center of the universe, the furthest planet from the center of the universe as possible. And then we're on Hoth, which is another desolate planet. We go to Bespin, which is not part of the Empire. It would have been nice, at least for world building, to see who are the people who are actually affected by the Empire's thing. Now, I do also agree with you in another way, playing both sides, where I do think because the Empire is so cruel, and also because I think we're dealing with metaphors and iconography more than actually like, here is how the Empire works. And in fact, I feel like Star Wars starts to fall apart when they're like, now imagine a trade war. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I think because they are so Nazi-ish, both in their
you can kind of fill
methods
in the gaps.
and their dress, for example, you can sort of fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting in some ways, but in a way that I'm like, a history documentary set in this universe would be interesting. I don't really think we need it.
Although we also got it with the prequels, which we do get to see the Empire or the Republic as before the Empire. And do I want to see any more of that? I don't know.
I could see where it would be, there would be compelling elements, but it's also like, I don't know. There's mostly what I want to see is more cock blocking by 3PO. Like, I feel like that's enough.
I love that homobot.
Start a revolution. Also, this is just the age-old question, like, are they alive or not? Because the way he treats 3PO is there's not a way you should talk to a human. Although the way he talks to other humans and does his pointing, maybe that's just Han.
I'll see you in hell. Maybe that's just how he's like, if I could turn you off, I would. I just want you to know that, Greg. Yeah.
But he's
Space
saying that,
Greg.
Now this is Greg, the homeless guy from before. Is that word?
No. You're right. I like to create a varied world, and in varied worlds, sometimes people
Greg
share names.
C. This is Greg X.
I was a little offended in terms of androids' rights. I was a little offended by forcibly turning off 3PO. Yes, he's frantic. Yes, he's panicky. For some reason, I relate to him nonetheless. And hey, you can't just turn people off.
I sure can. Stop.
Watch me, I say.
What about when he was, I don't know, blown into several pieces?
You're absolutely right. I believe
Yeah.
those are mathematically smithereens. And then they were very concerned about him, and I was heartened by it, but I was like, you just turned this fucker off a minute ago. You almost left him on Hoth. Chewbacca was really invested, which was sweet, because he also knows what it's like to be considered less than human.
Yeah.
I also liked that when R2-D2 and C-3PO were reunited, that C-3PO was so excited.
Yeah.
I'm very charmed by their relationship, by their very sexual relationship. A lot of grinding. You won't want to be there for it without earplugs, at least. You don't want to hear, it's like, I feel like you need more oil, guys. I don't think you should be attempting this without a little bit more oil.
Do you want to talk about Yoda?
No, I don't even know who you're talking about because he was such an unremarkable character to me.
And in talking about Yoda, how much do you want to talk about his resemblance to Martin Sheen in the face?
Martin Sheen now? Not Martin Sheen, not Apocalypse Now Martin Sheen.
No, Martin Sheen circa 2002.
Wow.
To now.
Do I need to look him up?
Yeah.
Martin Sheen. I'm just going to look up a Martin Estevez is all I'm getting here.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the right one.
Martin Sheen. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do an image. Oh, that doesn't help. And then we're going to do
Do
Yoda.
not close the window that we're recording.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Okay. Don't forget your place.
Now, Martin Sheen. Now, the most recent picture I was served was him wrapped in seemingly blankets, just layers on layers of blankets. So it does give him sort of a hunched feeling. Now, I will say, to Mr. Estevez's credit, he's got a much smoother forehead.
Sure, yeah.
Now, Yoda has those ridges that gives us a Buddha-like feeling. I fucking love this little freak.
Yeah.
I love him so much. And I love that he is like, hey, what if I come in and just start fucking with you?
Yeah.
And eat your dog biscuit that you were eating and then start fucking with your lamp and say, I'm not going to help you unless you let me have this fucking reading light that I found in your briefcase. I love him. Did you notice that Yoda had a particular way of talking?
I did notice that. Yeah. I will not be doing a Yoda impression.
Good. Let's make it a rule.
We're just gonna wait to read the Patreon names later. Oh man, you guys are not going to recognize your own names because we're going to say them so mixed up.
Oh man, predicates are going to be first and then subjects are going to be last. You guys have subjects and predicates in your names, right?
Some of them do. So Yoda gets a lot of lines that are very famous. Yoda is, becomes like code for having a guru,
right.
He is my Yoda or whatever.
Yeah.
Gets a Weird Al song, gets a lot of flipping and later in the prequels.
He does get a lot of flipping.
That's
I feel like all Jedi suddenly get a lot of flipping later on.
Well,
although the flipping does start earlier than I thought, because even in this one, Luke is
flipping
shooting
around
out and bebopping and scatting all over the place.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I don't remember Yoda or Benjamin Kenobi teaching him such skills.
Well, we will eventually cover the prequels and we can talk about them at length, but
don't threaten me.
But I do like imagining that he's a different kind of Jedi that's like more in tune with the Force, where he doesn't have to flip because he wouldn't need to do that. You know what I mean?
Right, because he's like doing over your ship and throws it into the sun or whatever.
Yeah, which I liked. I like the connection of, like, obviously we know that telekinesis is part of it and that he can move things, but we get to see how much more powerful he could become. He's moving an entire what's the X-Wing?
And I am unfortunate. I unfortunately know exactly the name of the ship, X-Wing.
And then we later see in their duel, Vader starts just throwing shit at Luke while they're doing.
I do like that he's just
we're
sort
having
of
a
standing
sword
there
fight
and
over here.
pipes are flying at.
Do you
at
need
Luke.
that stuff?
Rude.
It seems like you might need
It
that
feels
stuff.
like it's integral. It feels like you're in a part of the Bespin where there aren't a lot of just spare parts. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This feels like an integral, like almost the heart of the gas mining colony. You can't just be throwing pipes willy-nilly.
No, Kazan put a little sign that was like dumpster storage. So, all right, cool.
I have to negate it. I have to fight back against it.
There you
There.
go.
Oh.
Good job.
My heart was in my throat. Do we have anything?
Yoda.
I mean, Yoda is charming. I won't deny the claims, the allegations that I did get hot eyes when he does say, and that is why you fail. For some reason. I don't know why.
Wow.
But
I give you hot eyes.
yeah, I don't know. When he says, I can't believe it, that is why you fail. I like that.
What do you think about the old dream sequence? You know, I love a dream sequence.
I like it fine. Look, you know, I love Joseph Campbell. And part of the Campbellian hero's journey is going into the underworld and receiving a talisman. And he went into the underworld and received the talisman of knowledge that, hey, maybe he and Darth Vader share some genetic material.
The golden plates of knowing that you are connected to Darth
Is that
Vader.
a Mormonism reference?
Yeah. So, okay. There was one other thing. Oh, there's one thing that Yoda says, and I finally understand. And maybe we talked about this in the intro, and I just forgot because it's been a while since we talked about. By the way, thanks to Lacey for being with us for the intros of these. He says, you know, he's worried about Luke. Luke wants to leave to try to help his friends, and he's like, "You're turning to the dark side. Your training's not over. You shouldn't leave. Whatever." And he's like, "I'm gonna deuces." And then,
You mustn't abandon your training. Wait, I made a rule about Yoda impressions, and I've done 2 at least.
I didn't even catch that as a Yoda impression because
then I didn't
Ray Romano.
Do anything.
What if we do Ray Romano as
you're branding your training.
do or do not? There is no try.
Doris. I don't even know what his mother's name is in the show. I just know Doris Roberts played his mother.
Anyway,
my wife, she hates abortion.
When he fucks off, space ghost, force ghost,
coast to
Obi-Wan,
coast,
says, you know, he
does this little hand motion, which I always love. He's like, he does. I can't remember what he says, but it's like, Luke. He sort of waves around, and I think that in almost the superior film Spaceballs, Yogurt does a similar motion, and they even give him sparkles on his hands, and I can't unsee it when I see noted actor Alec Guinness waving his hands around.
I missed that.
Like a car dealership, like inflatable man. Just don't give in to hate, Luke, or whatever the fuck he says, whatever Taoist shit he's spouting out.
Then we get Yoda's response, "No, there is another." Which,
what does that mean?
So, when we first watch it, we don't know what he means. Oh, there's another, and then we don't.
If this one dies, it's cool.
We don't learn in this movie that Luke and Leia.
It's Leia. Because
so
Tyler asked me that just as he was falling asleep during the last part of this movie, and I said I think he's talking about Leia, but I wasn't sure.
Well, and I found out that in this movie they hadn't. I don't know if they had by the time it got done, but in the drafting of the script, they didn't know there was like going to be another sister, and they hadn't decided that was Leia yet.
Oh, probably because that's why they had Leia tonguing her own brother in the first act of this movie?
Yeah.
Perhaps?
Yeah.
So we just found another lady later on.
I can't remember
like,
what her
hey,
name was in the original draft.
Luca Skywalker.
Yeah. And then, so that's why it's a little bit more ominous. We're like, oh, there's another, but they don't really like explore training Leia in the same way. So it's just kind of a confusing thing.
No need.
She's
not interested. She's a girl. Now Tyler noted during the 30-degree crawl at the beginning of the film.
Every time we start getting into lore or like behind the scenes things, I'm just like, I can feel comments like they're being carved into my back.
Actually, no, but Tyler was during the crawl. It says that Darth Vader obsessed with finding Luke Skywalker. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And Tyler said, "Why is he obsessed with finding Luke Skywalker?" And in my brain, I was like, "His fucking son, you idiot."
Yeah.
But then later in the movie, Darth Vader gets a Skype call from the Emperor, further clarified by George Lucas's CGI.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Stop that. I know that this movie existed.
I had to look up
have to
what the original Emperor looked like. So I thought it was weird because I was like, how old is
Ian McDiarmid?
Guy? Yeah, Ian McDiarmid. And then I looked at I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. It wasn't him in the original one.
And also, like, it was blurry enough in the original that it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's okay. I know how movies are made, buddy. You don't have to do this. You're not tricking me. Stop it. Also, if you think, I know you don't think you're tricking me, but Ian McDiarmid in the clip you have re-recorded looks older than he does in the next movie that comes out in 2 years. Just stop picking at it. It's fine.
You know, the whole phrase is willful suspension of disbelief.
We are going along with it.
We paid dollars and got a whole tub of popcorn here. We're with you.
It's a give and take, Georgie. It's a give and take. Anyway, in that clip, and I should have looked at what the original clip was, but I assume it's similar. But in that clip, like, the Emperor says, "He is the son of Anakin Skywalker. Look into your feelings, you know it to be true," or something, some Star Wars stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, is he obsessed with Luke Skywalker without knowing that this person who shares his last name is his son?
I think he knows. I think that was one of those, like, explaining for the audience. I also think that he also destroyed their toy. He single-handedly destroyed the Death Star and sent poor Darth Vader spinning off.
I did say that. I did remind
dizzy.
that as
Look
it came to
probably
me,
was.
As it came to me, as I was explaining to Tyler, I was like, he also single-handedly destroyed the Death Star, so it does make sense that he would be obsessed.
Killed a bunch of his coworkers. He loves his coworkers,
and he doesn't like spinning. I imagine that's a real frustrating.
That's
thing
the main reason.
Ugh.
I get nauseous.
There's no horizon to look at, especially when the Death Star has been exploded. You don't have any horizon to look at.
I didn't even get a chance to take my Dramamine. Okay, so we talked about Vader a little bit. We talked about we only get a brief Emperor. I want to talk about Lando's betrayal a little bit more because I feel like that is a very good twist. I don't think it's one that's like super surprising, but that whole
we just
sequence,
met him.
Well, yeah, because they're like, I don't trust him. It's like what he says, but obviously you do to some extent. Otherwise, you wouldn't have kind of put yourself in this position. And then we get like a little bit of a mystery because C-3PO just gets blasted, but we don't know by whom. And then we just open a door and Vader's there with a little plate. He's got I'm pretty sure I saw cookies on the table.
Tyler did have some questions about this scene, various questions. The more I dug into it.
They just closed the door. I want to see that scene so bad.
I want to see the dining room scene, like a scene in a British mystery where we're all sitting down to dinner and we're going to find out who did it. Tyler was like, wait, we're not going to see Vader eat? And I realized at that moment, how does Vader eat?
He doesn't eat in front of people. He eats in his little meditation chamber.
Do you think he eats in that big egg that he sleeps in when Captain Neater keeps coming in to bother him?
Yes.
Okay.
He closes his ka-chunk. He takes off his helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And then
a straw comes into his mouth, and then he's like, ooh, it's beef space stroganoff tonight.
He's on an all-insured diet. I think everyone knows that.
Ooh, vanilla. What a treat for little Lord Vader.
I thought I told you I wanted chocolate swirl. It just chokes the guy.
Sir, I didn't think you wanted because it's technically carabine. Well, then Tyler was also then offended again because he was on the side of the people of Bespin. Sorry, I keep putting the emphasis on
City
syllable.
on Bespin.
But then he realized that Lando invites Han and Leia for some refreshments, which I would take to mean like have some cocktails in the lounge. And then you take me into a dining room for drinks? Let the Empire have them, is what Tyler says. You should take me into a lounge with velvet couches or maybe even a study, something nice, wood paneling, a musk in the air, perhaps.
This is mid-century modern, whole Cloud City.
End to Bespin. Let the Empire take over.
Oh.
They just don't know how to serve drinks in this place. Also, I can see Darth Vader having a drink. But he would just drink out of one of those little red straws, and I'm like, I'd be like, I understand you have a disability, but it still seems gauche to be doing that.
Oh, Princess, would you care for an amuse-bouche?
And it's like, you got an amaretto sour? Like, how old are you?
No one knows because of the mask.
That's a good point.
And the breathing.
What if he was 19 years old and he's like, I like amaretto sours?
Look, as a fellow sufferer of sleep apnea, let me just say, whatever you need to do to get by, Darth, we are behind you. Just if you could not kill me.
Wow. As long as you don't kill DJ, you can do whatever you want to do, Darth. That's what DJ has to say.
That's
Space Nazis.
That's how I'm participating in current society. Don't kill me. I don't care about anyone else. Signed, straight white man.
Also, I want to get this third thing out that DJ or that Tyler wanted to say.
Yeah.
Awkward.
We're more like
that all the Empire's little medals and they look like Trident gum packets where you punch the gum.
Yeah. All right.
Some cinnamon, some cool mint.
Do you think? What if that's what those were? I mean,
George was like, "I've got a fucking great idea for gum, but I really want to focus on this movie real quick.
But I'm gonna just put it in there for future product placement possibilities." What about we've mentioned hand cut off, I'm your father. Is that possibly the most famous scene in all of film? This is a meaningless question, but like it is. You mentioned iconic. It is.
Yes,
iconic.
I do.
It is...
I do think it is a popular scene in cinema. Tyler was stunned that the line is not "Luke, I am your father," but rather "No, I." Emphasis: I am your father. And I was like, yeah, that is true. It is a misquoted line in film.
That's impossible. Sorry, he gets
much like in Moonstruck. It's not snap out of it; it's actually clap out of it.
Oh, weird.
People just sort of picked up on the wrong one.
And yeah, did you know that in? Do you need a minute?
I think I like it better when you don't care for the joke.
I just kind of run to the next.
Yeah, you said to me. Sure.
I got the yes part, but I didn't have the and, so I just moved on. Oh, anyway, do you have anything to say about that revelation? Just how it's executed? About
I mean, it's well done. I mean, we already talked about how visually fantastic this scene is with them fighting back and forth all over the employees access only areas of Bespin.
Back lounge.
I mean, the first part of that fight where they're in that silhouetted scene, that Donkey Kong Country, as we already discussed, scene.
Pioneered. Yeah.
A pioneered scene where George Lucas stole it from him and then traveled back in time to do it first.
Mm-hmm.
And then that scene where they bust that window open and Luke gets sucked out into the spiraling funnel that all space stations have, apparently, as we will see with Return of the Jedi as well. No, actually, we saw it in the first one too, because Ben Kenobi goes out into a giant OSHA unapproved spiral of emptiness just to turn down some knobs.
Yeah.
Deranged. But it's great. I like that it's broken up with stuff from Han and Leia's adventures that are happening concurrently. It's really well done. And then But also, I really do appreciate, and I know I've complained about this in the past, but I also like that I kind of know where these fuckers are in time and space.
Yeah.
We see them. We see Luke get sucked out of the window, and then he's like hanging on a railing. And then later on, he's looking around on another similar railing. And then Darth is there like, gotcha. Hey, I want to tell you, 1, you're my son. 2, what if we killed the Emperor together and ruled the galaxy together? 3, oh, you fell down. That's a shame.
And sorry, this goes back to 0, kind of before 1. Sorry about your hand. But you were
Things happen between fathers and sons.
You were trying to save me. You're trying to lightsaber me.
Rules are rules in a lightsaber contest.
I do like this is much better than any of the fights in the first
Absolutely.
the Obi-Wan. Like it's not the flipping and the crazy shit that happens later in the series, but it reminds me of an old school sword fight, like in an old movie, an Errol Flynn or whatever, where you're like, there's stakes and they're moving around in space. You know where they are, but it's
and
fast
like their skill,
real-ish.
they're sort of handling themselves pretty well.
The scene, any of the Force jump, it's a little cheesy, but like when he like jumps out of the carbonite thing and like it's just kind of hanging on, and he's like, impressive, most impressive. That's weird, but I like it. I think it's good.
He's a father looking at his son. He loves him.
I feel like that would get you CPS called on you if you like saw your kid climb a tree and were like, most impressive.
Oh, you broke your hand off. Most impressive.
I feel like, well, I want to talk about Lando wearing Han's clothes at the end. So do you have any theories about that?
Maybe it's an honorific to Han, who may be, I mean, we know he is technically alive and that he is, those guys with the tusks. Check the bebops and dupes on the side of the carbonite block.
Yeah.
And they were like, A-okay, governor. But it is charming. I like Lando a lot.
Yeah.
I would drop trow for Lando if he were to, kiss my hand with his cape on. Not enough men in capes these days.
We should bring
or at
the capes
least
back.
Men you'd want to fuck in capes these days. I mean, that's always the caveat. Like, oh, men don't wear kilts enough. And then you see like, the weird guy at your prom. And
or like,
you're like, oh, no, that's not what I really meant. I meant fuckable guys in kilts.
Some poor guy in his mid-20s practicing close-up magic is not what you were talking about.
Less so that, but more like hot guys in kilts, I was thinking.
I wasn't thinking of Chad the Magnificent over there. Sorry.
You couldn't even come up with a name, Chad? You just went with your Christian name? I do like Lando a lot. I think he's a really good introduction. What about Lobot?
Lobot.
Sex appeal alert, ladies
I read
and
about
gentlemen.
Lobot.
Why wasn't
I was
he
like,
doing Colt 45 commercials in the 80s? You know what I mean?
I was like, what is this guy's deal? The guy with the...
It's mostly he's a bot, but only on the lobes.
On the lobes.
Of course. My lobes fell off during battle, and now I've replaced them with this mechanical lobe system.
They decided that his brain chemistry wiped out his decision-making and thus was like a lobotomy Lobot. I heard that.
Okay.
I read that somewhere. I don't know if that's actually where the name came from, but I was like, oh, that's more upsetting than just...
Yeah.
I thought it sounded like robot.
I much preferred him just being asleep in a chamber until like Lando hit his Apple Watch and was like, hey, Lobot, do something. And he's
just like
you're on it, boss.
Okay. I like the double cross where he double crosses them, but then he double crosses the Empire when Darth Vader is
cross, right?
Or
is that an octuple cross? Is it exponential or just multiplication?
I think it's just a triple cross.
No. Hold on. I don't like when threes get involved.
But I like that he waits until Darth Vader, clearly the scariest of everyone, is like way out of the picture. And then he's like, I don't care about these stormtroopers. I'm flipping it back.
Yeah, I did like that. I do like the scenes in Bespin. I think for that very reason, I think we get to see the Empire as a political situation, at least glimpses of it. You see Darth Vader as an unreasonable arbiter. And so he's like changing arbiter. What the fuck? Where he's changing the rules of the game. I
Yeah.
would hate to live in a political system where a guy just sort of changed things willy-nilly. He wasn't a trustworthy fellow.
Yeah.
And he just kept changing the goalposts either nearer or farther, depending on what
When
he
it just
needed.
like didn't matter what was real or what anyone
Right,
had
I'd
said
hate
ever
that.
again.
I'd hate that, and I'm glad we don't live in such
Yeah.
a situation.
It seems really chaotic and ultimately going to lead to the crumble of whatever society.
I'd
he's in
hate to
charge of.
live in a society where the person who was in charge of me at an executive level had trouble breathing.
Yeah.
I'd hate that. Call me,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
call me, a terrible person, but I just would never want to be in that type of political system. I do like Lando a lot, is what I'm trying to get to. I think he's charismatic. I think Billy D. Williams plays him great. I think he does have that, because you're just meeting him at the same time that he's being seen on the screen. You're just like, what do I do with this character?
Yeah,
I don't
what
know
is
what
this guy?
he's up to. And the character is playing with those understandings at the same time. And then I do like that he holds up the stormtroopers.
Yeah. Just grabs their guns.
Love it.
I like
Love
they're
it. And
immediately
Tyler's like, how did
"Shit."
he do that? And he's like, he just came, he came around him, he did the old circle him type deal. And they recognized immediately that they can't do anything.
They just gave up so quickly.
They were well, the guy with the black helmet's gone, so I guess I'm done.
The stormtroopers who seem very willing to be cannon fodder in other situations are just like, whoa.
I do have a
Guns?
question.
Pointed at me?
Absolutely not. I can't aim this, even if you're execution style shooting. I have a question. Have they replaced the voice of our stormtroopers with Jango Fett's voice?
No.
Because there was a scene where
Have
he's
they?
or no, correction.
That was Boba Fett.
Have they replaced Boba Fett's voice, the guy who played
Yes.
Jango Fett?
Yeah, I think so.
Did they replace it?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember him being more froggy in the version I
Yeah.
originally watched, where he's
Yeah.
just sort of talking like this.
Yeah.
Maybe not that robotic, but still kind of froggy. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, you sound like a New Zealander. Is this a thing?
I don't know if they changed. Yeah, it was definitely I don't remember that.
I mean, I
But-
feel like if I were to play George Lucas in my head, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah. I think I don't have any concrete evidence, and I refuse to look it up. But I think that's what happened. You gotta look it up.
Yeah, of course I am.
While you're doing that,
Well, Lacey's not here now to answer my question. Did they replace Boba Fett's voice in Empire?
Boba T with the 50%.
Yes.
Sweet. That's how.
According to AI,
Oh, geez.
let me go down to Reddit, which is my second
Somehow-
favorite.
somehow
Somehow more
more
accurate than AI.
What world are we living in where you go to a search, Google is just feeding robot results that are wrong? But if you go to Reddit, it's more likely that you can at least suss out the correct answer. This is a wild time that we're living in. I'm going to see if I can find my Martin Sheen / Yoda face.
Hold on, it's very vague.
Pointed.
I'm having trouble with the phrasing on this. Because the person asked, does Boba Fett have his original voice on the Disney Plus release of Empire Strikes Back? And then their comment under that is, I always preferred Boba Fett's OG voice portrayed by Jason Wingreen, while I like Tamara Morrison as Boba Fett in Star Wars Battlefront games. I felt his delivery of Fett's lines in Empire. So it makes it feel like they already understand that, yes. And okay, I think they did.
Jason Wingreen was
Is the original
voice.
and now the guy who plays him in Attack of the Clones and then later things. Don't say games. I want to send you this picture of Martin Sheen though, because it's ludicrous to me.
the all bundled up.
Yes, did you see this picture?
Yeah,
It's
Just looking
ludicrous.
like
I'm like, where is he? How many layers is he wearing?
just looking like the oldest man that's ever.
Yeah. Although, how
Um,
old is he?
All right, should we get back to our podcast?
I don't know. Will anyone care?
No.
How do I get back to it? Oh, I hit this button. Okay.
Well, there's, someone went around, maybe this was just a comedian talking about Lando wearing Han's clothes, and they were like, this is obviously a cheeky reference to the fact that they're lovers. And I don't know if that was real or if it was even a joke. I don't remember who said it. But I think I was like, he's on the ship and he needed a change of clothes because he can't be wearing a cape when you're piloting a ship. So what do you think the closet in Han's ships are full of?
It's just full of like khaki shirts and vests
The
over and
cool-
over and over again.
The Henley from the original.
First off, I would say, what a homophobic response. First off, of course they're lovers, a theory I just heard about 30 seconds ago. Of course they're lovers. Did you see the Donald Glover's portrayal of Lando, which
Yeah.
is the only good thing that came out of that movie?
That was galactosexual. The pansexual, like,
He'll have sex with an entire galaxy if he had the means to.
yeah.
Cat sound alert. Oh,
Black-
yeah. Are they
black
still
hole
threatening
indeed.
us with a Lando movie?
I feel like that fell apart, but I'm not sure.
I'd watch Donald Glover do almost anything, but I would watch him in a cape, as I've sort of alluded to already. I would watch anyone in a cape.
Anyone hot.
Anyone hot in a cape, yes. I just want to be clear. Anyone hot in a cape.
Would you like to go to the verdict? I think we're there.
Yeah, I do want to pour one out for Captain Nita, who does get a call out in season 1 of 30 Rock. In when Liz is going to go meet Jack, I think for the first time. It feels a little bit like going up to see Darth Vader in the Death Star.
So
And
he's the
Pete
first one
goes,
that gets.
"Oh, no, you'll be fine, Captain Nita." And Liz goes, "No, Captain Nita dies. He dies." And he does die. He dies in Empire Strikes Back.
One of 3.
Man, they must have a great like onboarding system at the Empire where they're just getting captains left, right, and center
Do you
because
think they're just so like career ambitious that they're just like, yes. And then they're like, oh. Like as soon as they get in the position.
I
they're
think that's literally what's happening here. Yes.
like, wild. Let's go to the verdict.
Yeah, let's go. Wee, 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 wee.
Okay.
DJ,
Damon. Oh, okay. I'll go first.
what do you think about this oft forgotten movie, The Empire Strikes Back?
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
No, DJ, I can't take any more hot takes.
Your inner child is not an idiot. This movie's great. I like this better than the one we just watched, than the original. It remains to be seen whether it'll be my favorite of the original trilogy, but it's just so like, it's so much more well done in every way. The acting's better, the characterization's a little bit better. I don't think, it builds on the first one, so you don't have to compare. It's like, it's continuing the story in an interesting way because it doesn't just undo what happened. Because we have this celebration and we, destroy the Death Star. But if you've ever paid attention to anything in warfare, you don't just like end it like that, especially like a massive army, like, the massive force like the Empire. And so the fact that they kind of continue the story in an interesting way, putting our heroes back in peril, but in a way that doesn't sort of undo the actions of the first one. It just sort of like continues the story, takes it in new, interesting ways. We get a couple new interesting characters. We get more lore. We build the story. You kind of understand everyone's motivations. The special effects are a bit better. They're interesting. It's still from is this 1980? When was this?
I think this is literally 1980.
Yeah. So like a very, you can identify some things that could have been, but I think they hold up pretty well.
They should have CGI'd more of it.
Yeah, right. I should have been all CGI. I want it all to look like a cartoon background.
I wanted it to all look kind of muddy in
Yeah.
a weird way.
The sort of Shakespearean turn of him being Luke's father is great. It's an all-timer, as they say.
If you were to make a poster, say, that you would hang in a dorm room of the 100 quotes from movies, it might be in the top 10.
I think it might be. What did you think?
I think this movie's shit.
Okay.
I think it's garbage. I didn't like the way that Leia was treated. No, it's a great movie. I enjoy this movie.
Wow.
One of the things I loved about it is that even though it has a lot of fun beats, the pace is surprisingly tight in this movie.
Yeah.
I think, Han and Leia's story especially like keeps everything like moving in a specific beat so that the movie just keeps going at a nice clip, and then it's counterbalanced by Yoda and Luke, learning about Taoism and shit.
And some shit like that.
And some crap. One of the things I really love about this movie is that it really does treat itself like the act 2 of a 3-act structure.
Yeah.
One of my milder criticisms of the Lord of the Rings movies is that it sort of reshuffles things around so that the Two Towers sort of ends on a strikingly positive note that I don't care for.
Yeah.
Whereas the book itself ends in like, oh no, Gondor's about to be attacked and Sauron can manipulate us with his voice. Or Saruman, I mean, can manipulate us with his voice. And this movie really ends with, well, I lost a hand. Don't worry, it got replaced with a robot hand real quick.
Yeah.
And Han's frozen in carbonite. It has really like concrete, like we've really lost a lot.
Got the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, at the end of this movie, and it's bittersweet. It's a really well done bittersweet ending. I also want to say we didn't really address it. I don't know if we really talked about music in the first one either, but the Han and Leia love theme is a really fucking good theme.
It is.
Don't make me fight you, even though you're agreeing with me. I'm amped up, and I'll fight anyone who'll come at me.
I'm going to give you the John Williams. Is all right.
Pretty good. Yeah, this is a really good movie. I think as we've said, I think there are a lot of like improvements. Mostly, I think Irving Kershner really brings a lot in terms of creating really iconic visuals. And then the writers who are also notably not George Lucas.
Yeah.
The script writers, of course, George Lucas is responsible for the story, but I think it's nice to know sometimes you don't need the creator to write the actual script of the movie. Sometimes this might be a benefit.
I was reading a little bit about his experience because making the first movie kind of stressed him out so much, and he was like, I want to kind of be a little bit more hands off with this. I have this story in mind, and then like let other people write it and produce it and direct it. And then it was going so poorly that he kind of had to go back in. And so,
into Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah. And so
interesting.
There's a story, and I don't know like where the kind of lines are of the lore of the making, because the lore of making these movies has become almost as big as like the in-universe lore.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's why he was so reticent to give up control later, is because when he did, it kind of went to shambles. But I'm like, that's just movie making. So like
right.
It could have very well happened in your hands, and did later, because it's tough.
I've seen those movies.
Yeah. Listen, I hesitate to say this, but what do you think, everybody? Text us or leave us a voicemail, 615-576-0525.
What a
No,
treat.
we really do. We really do want to.
No, we really do.
No, Damon really does want to hear. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com.
We need to hear from more people on the internet who've seen these Star Wars movies.
That's why we
get the word out, everyone.
We have to cover Star Wars. People need to hear us and what we think.
Finally, some
Star
white
Wars.
cis men talking about Star Wars. Where else can I get this content?
If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/SharonChild's an Idiot. I want to thank our current patrons, including Just Cuz,
Lindsay, Halik,
Smith T. That's my Yoda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My favorite. Wait, this actually works as the other way around.
Yeah.
My favorite movie is Tommy Boy.
Captain Jean-Luc Picard, not to be confused with Luke Skywalker.
Of course. The Hands of Fate.
Larissa Maestro.
David Mort.
Tippi von Cheaterly.
The Elusive fan Gromkin.
Particle Man.
The Zesty.
Bill Haynes.
Hizoner the Mayor.
Travis Vance.
Shit on the Cartouche.
Karen Curd.
Beth Surmont.
Lindsay Nell.
Josh Frigo.
Heather Tuggle.
Jeremy Powlen.
Dr. Malcolm's Heaving Bosom.
And a Damon's Australian.
Classic. Jonathan Day.
Jackson has an unhealthy obsession with Damon, like Darth Vader with Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
Twist.
That's in your opening crawl.
Jackson is my father.
Zachary Hartley.
The supreme rule of this podcast.
Caroline Amberson.
And Little Miss Chicken Nugget.
Thank you all very, very much. If you want to support like them, patreon.com/YourInnerChildIsAnIdiot.
Wait, this is Superman's theme, right?
Oh, shit.
Bam, 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 bam. There's a little trill there.
Oh.
Wait, I have the Star Wars theme. Hold on. Right?
I want you back.